want to welcome all staff members from every agency in the UN system, both those from Pretoria and those from Johannesburg, to this meeting. First of all, I want to let you know that the regional director himself, Dr. Makinwa, will be introducing Dr. Mayaki.
My brother, Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, on behalf of my colleagues here from various agencies of the UN, and as we have been told by Regina, others who have come from outside of the UN network, I would like to welcome you to this regional center, in a way, for the UN regional offices. Located here in Johannesburg, but covering various parts of Africa, some of them southern, some of them eastern and southern, some of them the entire continent of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming for the statement and presentation of Dr. Mayaki. I'd like to introduce Dr. Mayaki briefly. Currently, as was stated, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the NEPAD agency. I will not go into what NEPAD is, what NEPAD does, because that's what Dr. Mayaki will do, and do much, much better than I could ever do it. Dr. Mayaki was a minister in charge of the African Integration and Cooperation, and he was also Minister of Foreign Affairs between 1996 and 1997. In 1997, he was appointed Prime Minister of his country. And there's a uniqueness to this. And those of you who are very familiar with African politics, we know that it is unique. He was Prime Minister by a civilian, he was appointed Prime Minister by a civilian government. Then the military government took over. And the military government kept him as Prime Minister. I will now call you, Dr. Mayaki, to come and speak to us. You're most welcome.
My dear brother, Bonmi Makinwa, distinguished heads of agencies, representative of government departments, partner organizations, members of the academia, research, consulting institutions, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to be here today. As the first main challenge that I had to tackle when I was designated as NEPAD CEO was a communication challenge. I started visiting places and institutions with which we had developed a certain type of cooperation, and many times the first question that the journalists were asking me at the press conferences was, is NEPAD dead? So you can imagine that and in my responses I went through 3 periods. The first period in terms of reaction was to get a bit annoyed, and if you are annoyed, then you are confused, and the type of responses you give are not really very accurate. And the second period was a period of questions to myself, and from myself to the institution, in order to find out why the level of visibility, understanding, and comprehension of NEPAD's role was so unequally distributed. And then came the third period, where I was a little bit more at ease in explaining this issue of visibility, linking it to the visibility of Africa itself and the way Africa tackles development. So if we try to do a brief historical contextualization. And we try to locate ourselves in 2001, when NEPAD is created. What is Africa looking like? Africa is coming out of a very severe process of structural adjustment, which was absolutely necessary, but which was severe. Africa as during that time, a place in the global world which is highly marginalized. And the confidence that the African elite has in its capacity to transform the continent is not really at a high level. What I tried to do as a CEO coming to NEPAD was to say, we are a small structure, so we have limited capacities. So we need to focus on priorities. If our span is too large, then our performance will be low. So we do not neglect these issues. We need to take them into account, but we need to really relativize that that dimension within our own capabilities. And there is one thing in which we need to improve ourselves, is that how to dynamize networks which have knowledge, information, and know-how. And by dynamizing these networks, how to link these networks with policymakers and policy implementers in the ground. That we can do. But if the will exists, we will not reinvent the wheel, because we will be counterproductive. On the e-schools, when I say it is stuck, because it got stuck institutionally, because the scheme towards which we were going was to create national agencies which could then own and develop the e-schools project. And the creation of these national agencies within the countries has been unequally adopted. So it has had a repercussion on our capacity to mobilize resources. But I agree with you that the potential to mobilize resources exists. Now we have to rethink our scheme in order to revitalize a project. I didn't say it is dead, I said it is stuck, but we need to revitalize it, yeah. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. I hope it's been richly rewarding for you to listen. It has been for me personally. Although I knew NEPAD, I knew when it started. I was in Pretoria at that time. And so I attended some of the initial meetings. But what I have heard today, and what I also reflected upon, is by far much deeper than the NEPAD that I knew. I hope it's been the same for you.